Hello friends! After lots of trial and testing, I finally landed on my top 3 pencil brushes in Procreate, plus 2 that didn't make the cut but deserve an honorable mention. These are all default brushes, which means they're absolutely free and come pre-installed with the Procreate app. Let's dive right in. Before we get started, I'd love if you'd like, comment, subscribe, and watch till the very end because it really helps the channel. Okay, I'm going to start with the honorable mentions. These didn't quite make the cut because they aren't as well-rounded as I would like them to be, but they both do some things really well. First is Pelion. To find it, head to the new Procreate library, make sure you're in the Pencils set, and you'll find it near the bottom of the list. This one gets an honorable mention for its range because it has a really great range in value, so you can achieve really light grays all the way to really deep blacks. This brush will also give you a wide range in texture, from rough and grainy to soft and smooth. The main thing that took it out of the running for me is that I personally think the grain pattern is a little too prominent and a bit unnatural for a pencil. So I don't love the way it looks when it's used for shading. It's not necessarily bad, but it's just not my favorite. If you like that aesthetic, Pelion might be the brush for you. The second honorable mention is Peppermint. To find this one, open up the Classic library. You're going to go to the Sketching set, and Peppermint is at the top of the list. I'm giving this one an honorable mention for its smooth shading and blends. When using the smudge tool, you can get a really nice, soft blend with this brush, if that's something you're looking for in a pencil. Ironically, that soft look is also one of the reasons this brush didn't make my favorites list. The value range is limited to soft grays, so this brush is not going to give you really deep, rich blacks. Also, the strokes have a really soft, almost diffused look to them, so everything looks a little blurred, which I don't particularly love for sketching. But if you're looking for a brush specifically for blending, Peppermint is a good option. Alright, now on to my top 3, starting at number 3. My third favorite brush right now is Derwent. This one is also located in the Classic library in the Sketching set, and it's second on the list right under Peppermint. I've already done a full review on this brush, which I'll link to in the corner and in the description, but here's why this one made my top 3. The first thing I really like about this brush is that it has a slight taper, which I think is really helpful for a sketching brush, especially when drawing organic shapes. This brush is very textured, so it has a prominent grain which is visible on both sides of the stroke. And it's also slightly pressure sensitive, so the stroke size will gradually change when you apply more pressure, which can also be quite handy. One of the reasons Derwent is third on the list is because it has a fairly limited range in values. You can only get medium to dark tones, so it's not ideal for really light grays or really deep blacks. On the plus side, this brush has amazing texture, especially when shading with the side of the pencil tip. It gives you the look of drawing on textured paper. Now, if you set the smudge tool to Derwent, you can get a pretty good blend. It can be a bit challenging because the smudge tool pushes the pigment around very easily, but with a little patience and the right technique, you can get pretty good results. Depending on what you're blending, I've found that circular motions can be most effective. Derwent also works quite well as a colored pencil. If you use the side of the pencil tip, you can get nice broad coverage when filling shapes, which is also helpful for quickly adding shading and highlights. Blending seems to be a bit more forgiving in color, so you can get pretty decent color gradients, and somehow you get the look and feel of a creamy colored pencil despite the prominent texture. So overall, I like this brush best for creating detailed, dynamic sketches with texture, shading, and a broad range in values. And it's also great for colored pencil art. My second favorite is the 6B pencil brush. You can also find this one in the Classic library, again in the Sketching set. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you probably already know that I love the 6B pencil brush. This one also has a slight taper, And although there's enough texture so you feel like you're drawing with a pencil, overall, this brush is actually very smooth and the grain is not too prominent. It's also slightly pressure sensitive, so the stroke size will change with increased pressure. The 6B pencil has a great range from very light to very dark, mainly because it replicates the look of a soft pencil, so you can get very rich, deep blacks. When you use the side of the pencil with a loose grip, the texture really comes through and the grain pattern is consistent but still manages to look natural. The main reason this brush dropped to the number 2 spot for me is because it doesn't do a very good job of blending with the smudge tool. As you can see here, it gets a bit streaky, and it's hard to soften those marks to get a really nice smooth blend. Now, having said that, this isn't a deal breaker because there's a pretty simple workaround for this. With a minor adjustment in the brush studio, I increased the maximum stroke size, which drastically reduced the streaking and made it much easier to blend with the smudge tool. By the way, if you're not sure how to make that change in the brush studio, you can watch this video, which I'll link in the corner and in the description below. When used as a colored pencil, you can achieve a very soft and creamy look, or you could use a lighter touch for a more textured quality. Again, smooth blends can be hit or miss depending on the size of the brush and the size of the shape you're blending, but you can create lovely textured gradients by gradually layering the colors. Overall, I like the 6B pencil best for loose linework sketches and for replicating the look and feel of soft graphite. Because it's so smooth, it's actually great for writing as well. I'll often use this brush when I'm writing notes and annotations when I'm working on a project. Last but not least, my number 1 favorite pencil brush right now is Huntsman. To find this one, we're going to go back to the Procreate library, make sure you're in the pencil set, then scroll down the list until you find Huntsman. Like all my favorites, this brush has a slight taper, and it's a good balance between smooth and grainy. As you can see, the grain is only prominent on one side of the stroke, and it's pretty smooth on the other side. This one is also slightly pressure sensitive, so the stroke size will gradually increase if you add pressure. This brush has a really nice range in values from very light gray to very deep, rich black. And it gives you a nice range in stroke size as well due to the pressure sensitivity, so you can get fine lines or thick strokes without changing the brush size. I also like that the grain pattern is fairly random, which helps make it feel like you're working with real graphite on paper. When using the smudge tool, you can get a really nice, smooth blend without making any adjustments to the brush. So that, of course, is a plus. There's also lots of flexibility when you use it as a colored pencil. You can get a lovely textured look, especially if you use the side of the pencil tip, or you can use the smudge tool to create really smooth, creamy gradients. My personal preference is to combine the two techniques by adding a bit of textured shading on top of a smooth blend. Overall, this brush has the number 1 spot for me because of its range and flexibility. It's great for both graphite sketches and colored pencil drawings. You've got a nice range in values from light to dark and a wide range of textures from rough to smooth. And you don't have to make any changes to the brush to get great results. Huntsman checks all the boxes. Have you tried any of these pencil brushes? Or do you have a different list of favorites? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what brushes you're using. If you'd like more breakdowns on Procreate's default brushes, you can check out my brush review series. There's a link to the playlist in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.